Okay, this is a continuation of our study that we are doing in regard to the name of the Creator and also the name of the Messiah, of the Mashiach. And I'm going to start reading today in Proverbs chapter 30, verse 4. Now this, by the way, this is a riddle that Yahuah has put in the scriptures. And as I read through this, you'll understand that he's actually sort of enticing us to understand the riddle. And it starts out by saying in verse 4, who has ascended up into heaven or descended? Question mark. And then it says, who hath gathered the wind in his fist? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? And first of all, before I read the rest of this, you can understand that we're talking about the Creator here. And he says, who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if you can tell? So this is, like I said, this is a riddle that was put in the scriptures by our Father, our Creator. And he's actually enticing us to solve the riddle. And, you know, Yahuah knew that his name would be tampered with and hidden from people because of he knows the beginning from the end. He knows what's going to happen throughout the future. So he knew this was going to happen. And so with that said, you know, we left off in our last session. By the way, if you haven't listened to the previous session I did on this topic, this subject, then go back and listen to that, because you'll get a lot of information there that you need to have, and I don't want to repeat everything I've already said. So, but first of all, the name of the Creator we've talked about. The fact is that it's in the scriptures, and it's in the Old Testament approximately 6,823 times. In the New Testament, it's in there approximately 200 times, and it's a little bit more difficult to figure out than it is in the Old Testament. But the bottom line is, in the Old Testament, in the Tanakh, where you see the word capitalized, Lord, and in some cases God, the name of the Creator, which is Yahuah, has been substituted with these titles. We talked about the fact is the reason this has happened was because of Jewish tradition. And by the way, this has been going on even before the Messiah came. And in fact, he declared to his disciples that he had made his name known, made known to them the Father's name. And you'll find that in the Gospel of John chapter 10. And but he did not hide the name. He published the name of the Father. He even stated that the works that he did in his Father's name. He also stated in John chapter 5, verse 43, that he came in the name of his Father. So his name, the Messiah, Mashiach, had to resemble the name of the Father. And it does and did, and we'll talk about that in some upcoming videos. But I want to spend most of the time in this session, again, going over about information about the name of the Father and the importance of knowing his name. And we read in our last session, too, the fact is that Yahuah told Moses, or Masha, that what his name was, and he told him that his name was Yahuah, and that he was to be a memorial to all generations. In other words, his name should be made known to every generation. That would include ours today. So this is not just something, the name of the Creator was in the Old Testament and we don't even acknowledge it now and so forth. And that's not accurate. You know, we individuals that live in this generation should make known his name unto all the world as he's instructed us. I wrote down some things in here, and there's many more in regard to what we should do in the name. I wrote down 10 particular things that the scripture tells us that we're to do in regard to the name. the name. And by the way, like I said, there's many more than this. I'm just giving you a small sample so you will see the importance of the name. Number one, it says we are to know his name. And again, we just read this in Proverbs chapter 30, verse 4. And you'll also find this in Psalm 91, verses 14 and 15. And again, this is in regard to knowing his name. Number 2, we're to bless his name. You'll find this in Psalm 103, verse 1. You'll also find this in Psalm 96, verse 2, and Psalm 72, verse 17. And again, as I say, there's more references to blessing his name than just these 3 that I just gave you. But just for the sake of time, I just want to get you started in understanding the importance and what the scripture has to say that we as individuals should be doing in regard to the name of the Creator. Number 3, it says we are to sing to his name. You'll find this in Psalm 92, verse 1, and you also find it in Isaiah chapter 42, verse 10. Number 4, we are to praise his name. You'll find this in Isaiah chapter 25, verse 1, Psalm 113, verses 1 through verse 3, and Psalm 99, verse 3. Number 5, we are to call upon his name. You'll find this in Isaiah chapter 12, verse 4. You'll find this in Joel chapter 2, verse 32. And you'll also find it in Psalm 116, verse 17. Number 6, we are to give thanks to his name. You'll find this in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 15, Psalm 105, verse 1, and Psalm 92, verse 1. We are to love his name. How many people, and you think about this for a moment, some people say, well, it's really not important, he knows what name I mean, he knows who I mean it doesn't matter what I call him. But right here it says we are to love his name, and he only has one particular name in the scriptures. Excuse me. And we are to love his name. You'll find this in Isaiah 56, verse 6, Psalm 69, verse 36, Psalm chapter 5, verse 11, and Psalm 119, verse 13. Number 8, we are to declare his name. You'll find this in Isaiah chapter 26, verse 13, also in Isaiah chapter 12, verse 4, Psalm 102, verse 21, in Psalm 105, verse 2. Number 9, we are to trust in his name. You'll find this in Psalm 112, verse 7, Jeremiah chapter 26, verse 4, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 4, Isaiah 50, verse 10, and Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7. And then number 10, we are to offer incense, or actually this word here is more in regard to worship to his name. But you'll find this in Malachi chapter 1, verse 11. Now again, these are 10 things just I picked out, and there's many more in regard to his name that we should be aware of and participating in. And how can you do these things if you don't know what his name is? And if you're using other titles or names that really aren't his name, it does make a difference. It makes a whole lot of difference to him, and it should to you. And so as we spend time studying about the name, I want to encourage you to be patient and just open up, have an open heart to receive. Don't take everything I say as absolute truth. Verify everything yourself, and but because it really won't make a whole lot of difference in your life unless you actually do the study yourself. So now, before we get off on this topic here on today's subject, I want to give you a definition of, everybody I think understands what a translation is. In other words, it should be understanding what the meaning of a word or a name. And by the way, all proper Hebrew names have meaning to them. It's not like our culture that names don't really mean anything to us. We name people, like I shared with you in the past, Tom, Dick, or Harry, and those names don't mean anything. They're just like labels. But the names in Hebrew, all proper Hebrew names have meaning to them. So that's very important. So you'll understand that why it's important to study this subject. And so, but a translation is like from one language to another to understand what the meaning or what the word is in a particular other language. A transliteration is something totally different, which a lot of people don't know anything in regard to what is a transliteration. If they did, then they would understand this, how this has happened, how the name of our Creator Yahuah has been hidden, and why it's been hidden. And but anyway, the definition of a transliteration is it's pronouncing a name or word the same as it is spoken in the original language, using the letters of the second language to make the same sound as the original language. Now, I'm going to repeat this, and by the way, you ought to just write this down so you can get a clear understanding of what a transliteration is, and you can see how names in the original scriptures were not properly transliterated, and they were actually changed. But here's the definition again. It is pronouncing a name or word the same as it is spoken in the original language, using the letters of the second language to make the same sound as the original letter. Now, to give you an example, of course, this is the Father's name right here. And this is, by the way, in ancient Paleo-Hebrew. This is the original name, and I like to say this is Yahuah's autograph, our Creator's autograph. That's when he wrote on the stone tablets for Moses, this is how he wrote his name, because this is the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. It's not the modern Hebrew script that you see today. It's different. However, these letters will make the same sounds as a modern script if you use it without the vowel markings around it to change the way that the word or name is pronounced. And that we'll get into more of that later, and I'll explain that. But the first two letters, and by the way, Hebrew reads from right to left. So these first two letters here, this is the Yod and the Hey, and this gives you the pronunciation of Yah. You'll find that this word Yah, as far as it's Hebrew number 3050, and it's found, I believe, 50 times in the Bible that you'll find the letters Yah, and Yah listed as the name of the Creator. It's the short version of his name, and we know that the next two letters, we'll talk about those, but these two letters here, this is what it's talking about. It's how would you pronounce these two letters in ancient Hebrew? Well, the Y-A-H is how we, in our English, we use our letters, Yah, to get the same sound that someone that in ancient Hebrew would see this as Yah, the first two letters. So that's a transliteration of these two letters, Yah. So it's not Ye, it's Yah. That's why Yehovah is not correct. You're taking away and hiding the name of the Creator by calling him Yehovah or Jehovah. There's no J in Hebrew. There's no J in Greek. So, we want to be accurate in our pronunciation of the Creator's name. And so these two letters give us the pronunciation of Yah. The third letter, which is really where most of the controversy arises in this, and what's happened in modern Hebrew, they use the vowel points, the vowel marking. See, they tell you that there's 22 Hebrew letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and they say that they're all consonants, and they say that to say that these markings that they put around it, they call them nakud, I believe is how it's pronounced, but they're markings around the letters to change the way that these original letters would sound. Now, why they did that, again, it goes back to their tradition of not pronouncing the name of the Creator. And so they would change the way that names were pronounced to hide the name. And so when you see in modern Hebrew with these vowel markings around, it gives a different pronunciation. They say that's necessary to supply the vowel sounds. That's not accurate. The original ancient Paleo-Hebrew of 22 letters, there are 5 letters that act as vowels as well as consonants, and we'll talk about that in some upcoming video, and I'll show you that. But for the sake of time, right here, the pronunciation or transliteration of these first two letters is Yah. The third letter, in modern Hebrew, they use vowel markings around this letter. Looks like a hook or a nail, and they vowel point it to make it sound like a W, they call it a wah, the letter wah, but to give the W sound, or they call it that it makes a vav, makes it a V sound. Well, the W and the V sound were never in ancient Hebrew. So we want to get to the most accurate pronunciation of the Creator's name as we can. And by the way, just for your information, the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found in 1947 and 48, they're the oldest text that we have, dating back to of any scriptures that we have in the Hebrew text. And you'll find the name of the Creator written in this script right here. And a lot of it has the modern script, but there's no vowel markings around the letters, but they use the modern script. But this here is the way you'll see the name of the Creator in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so this third letter has a oo sound, as in pool. I mean, that's where we get the Yahuah from. Yahuah is the first three letters of the Creator's name. Not a W sound, not a V sound, not Yahwada or Vada. There's no W or V in ancient Hebrew. So we know that the first three letters gives us the pronunciation of Yahuah. We'll go more into this in another video too. But I wanted just to bring this out. The last letter, which is the same as the second letter, whenever it's not the first two letters in the name or word, it has the ah sound. So you have Yahuah. Yahuah is how you pronounce the Creator's name. So we're going to get more into this in our next video. And by the way, just for your information, this is the name of the Creator in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, which I'm showing you here. And this is the modern script that you'll see today. And then they use these vowel markings around the letters to change the way that the name is pronounced. So we'll get more into this. Thank you for watching. Please share this video with others, especially those that have an interest to understand. So tell them just be patient. We will get into some of the questions that people may have later. And thank you for your support. Thanks for your comments. I appreciate you liking the video if you do. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I encourage you to do so too. There's many videos besides just teaching on the name that I do. And so that will help minister to you. And so until our next video, I love you. Yahuah loves you. Until then, shalom.